We're standing here with General Clark. General Clark, thank you so much for this interview with DW. Tell us, you have overseen, you have witnessed so many conflicts during the past years. Where do you see Ukraine now? What do they need strategically?
Well, they need more material, starting with artillery ammunition. But they also need time. They need training. They need to build their forces, develop their leadership. They need the support of the West politically, economically, militarily.
They, of course, also need F-16 and also Taurus, the German Taurus, do they?
They certainly need long-range weapons. They need air superiority, not a dozen F-16s. They need several hundred modern aircraft. And they need not only the Taurus missiles, but other ballistic missiles. They need to be able to strike deep into Russia.
Now, your country, the United States, is not passing that important package to help Ukraine. What is at stake here?
Well, I think the Congress has got to pass this legislation to get the $60 billion of military assistance to Ukraine. Most of that money is going to be spent in the United States. Most of the hardware is already built and purchased by the U.S. government. So this is a reimbursement, really, to the U.S. government. And it will then spend the money in U.S. defense industries for most of that $60 billion. But until we see the exact components of it, I don't know if it's going to be what we need here in Ukraine. Ukraine needs long-range ATACMS missiles with unitary warheads. It needs several squadrons of F-16s. It needs many more main battle tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles. It needs more artillery. It needs more HIMARS launchers. It needs more logistics replenishment. In short, it needs just about everything that it has, but more of it. Yeah. And it needs to replenish its manpower as well.
General, but one of the arguments why Germany, the United States, the European Union are afraid of delivering this kind, especially the kind of long-range weapons, is that Ukraine could then also reach Russia, and the United States, the Western countries, would be involved in this war in a very active way. Isn't that a risk?
Well, it certainly would be an inconvenient fact, wouldn't it? That Western countries would have to recognize that Russia is at war with the West. Ukraine is just the victim. This is the crocodile that wants to eat its victim one leg or arm at a time. And so there's no indication really that Putin is going to be satisfied with Ukraine. He said the opposite. But instead, it's very difficult for democratic governments to be able to face something that's in the future unless the electorate demands it. And the electorates, we've got a lot of interests in America. We're interested in football. We're interested in the southern border. We're interested in abortion. There's a lot of distractions going on. We're interested in Mr. Trump. And this comparable interest all over Europe and their own affairs and in sports. And, the Olympics is coming up this summer in Paris. And so on and on and on. So it's tough for a democratic government in any country to mobilize.
That is true, but would you say the priority is Ukraine for Western countries, or should be?
Well, I think if you compare the theaters of conflict right now, I think there are three theaters of struggle. China and Asia, and China is increasingly assertive, and we certainly don't want war over Taiwan. The Middle East, where there's active war going on, and Iran is on the verge of getting nuclear weapons that will change everything in the region. And then there's Europe, where Ukraine is holding the wall against Russian aggression, which threatens to move beyond Ukraine into Poland, the Baltic states, and no telling where else.
General, one more question. The Minister of Defense, Boris Pistorius, German Minister of Defense, said that Europe has to count with an attack from Russia in the next 5 years. Do you agree? And if so, would NATO be able to defend?
Well, I think if Ukraine doesn't hold, I think the risks for conflict in Europe certainly go up. And during the Cold War, we had about a 400-mile, about a 650-kilometer border with the Soviet forces that were occupying East Germany, Czechoslovakia, and in Hungary. And we had a great deal of difficulty maintaining a strong defense against that border. So today, we would be defending maybe 4 times, 5 times that distance. And this is going to be a real challenge for NATO if we have to do that. And what it means is it'll completely transform the defense budgets of countries that are spending 1%, like Germany, or 1.1% that Germany is spending. And you're going to end up spending 3 and 4%. Where's that money going to come from? You're going to have to create it. When you create it, you're going to find probably that it improves the German economy. You'll be producing more. And I keep reading about the problems in Germany and in Europe in general with the problems in the economy and not keeping up with the United States and economic growth. Well, here's your opportunity. You may not want to do it on this, but I will also tell you that these investments in defense are also important in terms of providing security and other investments that can move forward. They develop technology. They provide reasons for education for young people. They give a purpose for a group of people who can understand the value of protecting their homelands. So that's the future we're going to face if we don't provide the assistance in a timely fashion in sufficient quantity and quality for Ukraine to defend itself and regain its territory.
General, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you so much.
All right.